Stop it, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Since we're all three here after the service, we can have a impromptu.
For social media?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Hey, Shalom Israel. We'll get started in just a minute. All right, Shalom Israel. Yahweh Shem Yahshua Baruch to the brothers. Yahweh Shem Alephem Bashem Yahshua to the sisters. I'm Priest Officer Parag holding down the Sabbath service for Arizona. If you're watching online, we got classes every Tuesday through Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. And every Saturday we hold our Sabbath service from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're located at 12416 North 28th Drive, Phoenix, Arizona, Suite number 4. All right, we're going to jump right on into it. So today we'll be talking about Christ in the Old Testament. Specifically, prophecy about Christ, prophecy concerning Christ in the Old Testament. A lot of people seem to there seems to be a lot of contention and misunderstanding of the prophecy of Christ in the Old Testament, which there are plenty of, which we will cover several of them today. Not all of them. I don't believe that we could cover all of the prophecy of Christ in the Old Testament in a 2-hour span. However, we'll cover as many as we possibly can and give a good understanding of them. Another reason why I feel like this class is also necessary, especially for a Sabbath service, is to understand to give the understanding as to why Christ needed to come. All right, the necessity of Christ for Israel. All right, it's extremely important for us as Israelites to be able to understand why we need a Messiah in the first place. And then, of course, also just to understand how we have a mediator between us and God, an intercessor for us to be able to deal with the Most High. We understand that in times past, we've never dealt with the Most High face to face. Us as a nation have never dealt with the Most High face to face. The Most High never came to us collectively in some vision or in form and talked to all of us collectively. He's always used an intercessor or a mediator. Of course, we understand that was Moses at one time. It was Joshua at one time. It was the prophets at one time. Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, David. All of these men, there were always men that were the mediator or the intercessor between God and men. All right. So we're going to talk about the greatest intercessor, which is Christ, and we're going to find these prophecies in the Old Testament and kind of pick them apart and understand them. So without further ado, and just to clarify too, to start off, because it's a Sabbath service, of course, we read our first 7 verses in the Hebrew. We'll be starting off in Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. All right, that's one of my favorite prophecies of Christ, and we'll be starting off there. However, we're going to move around a little bit. That's not the only prophecy we're going to get. All right. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and begin with the prayer. So I imagine, which means to stand. Panyakudan, which means to turn the face to east, which is that way. All right, we're going to begin with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shema Shemaya, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwaka, Tabaa, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Rataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashemaya, Felanawa, Come, Kal Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kal Watnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kal Wathinawa, Wala'a, Nabayanawa, Wanasai one, a ball, Haushai Nawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Wa'ala, Watha Parad, Lai Walamya. Amen. All right, the Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. The Akak, or the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Babakosha, Talanawa Hakat, Hakat Larapa'ah, Kal Maka'ala, Okal Madawa, Hakat Latahar, Amatazarayim, Hakat Lakwayam, Amathium, Hakat, Arakawa, Atama'ala, Lagar Shan, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the one Aman, in the English. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power, the power to heal all manner of sickness, and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in Hebrew. Asha'ab, Ayanya, Ahaharya, Mayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Warataza, Al-Yathan, Lamawat, Ragalka, Al-Yanawam, Shamarka, Ana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashan, Shamar, Yashala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yanganka, Yawamam, Hashamat, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarach, Alayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Atnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Tazaatka, Waba, Waka, Ma'itha, Wa'ai, Awalam. I'm going to read Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Yashala shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out, and thy coming in, from this time forth, and even forevermore. All right, we're going to read Psalms the 83rd chapter, beginning with the Hebrew. Alahayo, Al Damayalaka, Al Thakarash, Wa Al Tashakwat, Al Kayahana, Awayabyaka, Yahamaya 1, Ra'ash, Al Imaka, Yariyamwa, Sawada, Wayatha, Yaitazawa, Al Tazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Wanakakidam, Magawya, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha Allah, Wada. Kaya, Awaitazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Alyaka, Maryat, Yakarathwa, Ahawya, Arawam, Yashamayaliyam, Mawa'aba, Wagarya, Gabal, Waimawan, Waimalak, Halashad, I'm Yeshabia, Tazawar, Ram Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zarwai, Labunya Lawat, Salah, Aishalaham, Kamadian, Kasaya, Sara'ah, Kayabyan, Manakal, Kwayashwa, Wayashwan, Nashamagwa, Bayan,
Bayan,
Dara,
Dara,
Ayawa,
Ayawa,
Aman,
Aman,
La Adama,
Adama,
Shayathamwa,
Shayathamwa,
Nada,
Nada,
Yamawa,
Yamawa,
Kaira,
Kaira,
Wakaza Abba,
Wakaza Abba,
Wakaza Bak,
Wakaza Bak,
Wakatazal,
Wakatazal,
Mana'ai,
Mana'ai,
Call,
Call,
Nasaya Kamwa,
Messiah Kamwa,
Ashar,
Ashar,
Amarwa,
Amarwa,
Mayarasha,
Mayarasha,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Ath,
Ath,
Nawat,
Nawat,
Alahayam,
Alahayam,
Alahaya,
Alahaya,
Shayathamwa,
Shayathamwa,
Kagogala,
Kagogala,
Kakwash,
Kakwash,
Lapanya Raka,
Lapanya Raka,
Ka'ash,
Ka'ash,
Baba Ira,
Baba Ira,
Ya'ira,
Ya'ira,
Wakala Haba,
Wakala Haba,
Balahat,
Balahat,
Aryam,
Aryam,
Khan,
Khan,
Naradapma,
Naradapma,
Masairaka,
Masairaka,
Wabasa,
Wabasa,
Wapatka,
Wapaka,
Nabahalam,
Nabahalam,
Mala'ah,
Mala'ah,
Panyaham,
Panyaham,
Balawan,
Balawan,
Wayabakwashwa,
Wayabakwashwa,
Shamka,
Shamka,
Yahawah,
Yahawah,
Yabashwa,
Yabashwa,
Patslaki, Wayabahawa,
Wayabahawa,
Ayai,
Ayai,
Wayakaparwa,
Wayakaparwa,
Wayabagwa,
Wayabagwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Wayadaiwa,
Wayatslaki, Kayatha,
Kayatha,
Shamka,
Shamka,
Yahawah,
Yahawah,
Labadka,
Labadka,
Ayawan,
Ayawan,
Alkal,
Alkal,
All right,
All right.
we're going to read Psalms, the 83rd chapter in English. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thy silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
And be not still, O God.
For lo,
lo,
thine enemies make a tumult.
Thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
And they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
Come,
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
That the name of Yashala
That the name of Yahshua
may be no more remembrance.
may be no more remembrance.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against thee.
The tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites.
Of Moab.
Of Moab.
And the Hagarenes.
And the Hagarenes.
Gabal.
Gabal.
And Ammon.
And Ammon.
And Amalek.
And Amalek.
The Philistines.
The Philistines.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also is joined with them.
Assur also is joined with
They
them.
have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah.
Salah.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
As to Sisera.
As to Sisera.
As to Jabin.
As to Jabin.
At the brook of Kasan.
At the brook of Kasan.
Which perished that endured.
Which perished that endured.
They became as dung for the earth.
They became as dung for the earth.
Make their nobles like Oreb.
Make their nobles like Oreb.
And like Zeeb.
And like Zeeb.
Yea.
Yea.
All their princes as Zabah.
All their princes as Sabbath.
And as Zamunah.
And as Zamunah.
Who said,
Let
us take to ourselves
Let us take to
the
ourselves
houses of
the
God
houses of God
in possession.
in possession.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Make them like a wheel.
Make them like a wheel.
As the stubble before the wind.
As the stubble before the wind.
As the fire burneth the wood.
As the fire burneth the wood.
And as the flame setteth the mountains on
And
fire.
as the flame set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them with thy tempest.
So persecute them with thy tempest.
And make them afraid with thy storm.
And make them afraid with thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame.
Fill their faces with shame.
That they may see thy name.
That they may see thy name.
O Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
Let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Yea, let them be put to shame and perish.
Yea, let them be put to shame and perish.
That men may know that thou,
That men may know that thou,
whose name alone,
whose name alone,
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
are the most high of all the earth.
art the most high of all the earth.
We're going to read the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Why Yahweh Shai.
Why Yahweh Shai.
Why Mayaka Allah.
Why Mayaka Allah.
Why Lahayim.
Why Lahayim.
Matazab Ya'ab.
Matazab Ya'ab.
Allah Wab Yahana.
Allah Yahana.
Allah Wapyam.
Allah Wapyam.
Asaranya.
Asaranya.
Akwata Zayanya.
Akwata Zayanya.
Akaya Yaya.
Akaya Yaya.
Wahagwathim.
Wahagwathim.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Hashem Yahweh Shai.
Tawadaman.
Tawadaman.
We're going to read the blessings in English. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Yahweh Shai.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Commanding General Yohana.
Commanding General Yohana.
The generals.
The general.
The captains.
The captain.
The officers.
The officers.
The troopers.
Troopers.
And the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
Thank you, so be it.
Thank you, so be it.
Sorry while you're shopping. We can be seated. All right. Once again, we're going to be in Isaiah the 53rd chapter to begin. All right. As I mentioned, we'll read 7 verses in Hebrew, and then we'll read the English and get some precepts. All right. So beginning with Isaiah 53, verse 1. Maya, Amayan, Lama'ai, Thawan, it's like it, Thanwa, Wazar Y, Yahweh, Al, Maya, Nagaltha, verse 2. Waya Al, Kayawanak, Lapanyawa, Wakasharash, Slakia, Ma'arataza, Tazaya, La'a, Tha'ar, Lawa, Wala'a, Hadar, Wanar Awa, Wanarwa, Wala, Slaki Wala'a, Mar'a, Wanakarawa, verse 3, Nabaza, Wakadal, Ayasham, Ayash, Makabawath, Wayadawai, Kalya, Wakamasa Thar, Panya, Slaki Panyam, Mamanwa, Nabaza, Wala'a, Ashaban Nawa, verse 4, Akan, Kalya Nawa, Hawa'a, Nasha, Omaka, Bayanawa, Sabalam, Wa'ana Slaki, Wa'anak Nawa, Kashaban Nawa, Slaki, Nagawai, Maka, Alahayim, Wama'ina, verse 5, Salaki, Wana, Makalal, Mapashai Nawa, Madaka, Ma'aiwan Nathya Nawa, Mawasar, Shalom Nawa, Al-Yawa, Wabakar, Thawa, Warapa, Lanawa, verse 6, Salakia, Kal Nawa, Kataza An, Ayanawa, Ayash, Ladarakwa, Panyanawa, Wayahawa, Hapagat, Slaki, Hapagayai, Bawa, Ath, I1, Kal Nawa, verse 7, Nagash, Wahana, Slaki, Wahawa, Na'aina, Wala'a, Yapathak, Payawa, Kasha, Latabak, Yawabal, Wakarahal, Lapanya, Gazaya, Wa'alama, Wala'a, Yapathak, Payawa. So now that was verses. That was verses. Let me get my Bible out too. That was Isaiah 53 and verses 1 through 7. Now we're going to read that, but I do want to get some precepts before we get that. All right, just so we can, because I kind of want to finish off with that prophecy. Now that prophecy is talking about, to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed. All right, that's what that prophecy is talking about. And we can actually read that real quick. We can just read that first verse to get an understanding of what that prophecy is talking about. And then what we'll do is we'll get some of these, we'll break it on down with some of these other prophecies. All right. We're not going to jump around. We're going to make sure this is very clear cut, but I do want to read this first. All right. So let's read this first. Let's get Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. See where we at. So let's get Isaiah the 53rd chapter. Let's read the first verse.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Who hath believed our report? And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?
So now, this is why I wanted to open up the class with this, right? To whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? Who is the arm of the Lord? What does that even mean? The arm of the Lord. Well, your arm is an extension of your body that is connected to your shoulder and your hand, and you do things with your hand. You make moves with your hand, right? It's where your power comes from. It's what you do things with. Well, the arm of the Lord, I'm just going to give it to you, is Christ. All right. When we read the rest of this chapter at the end of this class, the rest of Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, at the end of this class, you'll see exactly who it's talking about. But to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? The book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, says that, the Lord revealeth his secrets to his servants, the prophets. So that's who it was revealed to. Now it's up to us to reveal it to y'all. All right. So now what we're going to do, we're going to start in Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. We're going to start way, way back. All right. We're going to go back to Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. And we're going to start getting these prophecies of Christ. See, the entire Old Testament is filled with prophecies of Christ. Now, once again, we talked about this at the beginning of this class. What is the necessity of Christ? Like, what do we need Christ for? Well, that term Christ, or Mashiach, means deliverer, right? It means savior, deliverer, right? So what do we need that for? Well, obviously, we need it right now. We're in captivity. And we needed it when we were in the Babylonian captivity and the Assyrian captivity and the Egyptian captivity. We've always needed a Messiah or a savior because we've always found ourselves in these positions, in these conditions, in slavery, in captivity, under servitude, in bondage. And we've always needed somebody to deliver us, right? When the time of Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, Moses was the one that delivered us. You had something?
I just want to say, when you point out that the Most High say he reveals his secrets to his prophets, I was just listen to he said like a podcast with some brothers, and they was talking about Egypt and the Bible and all that, and one of the brothers, and they were saying, oh, the whole thing about Christ is a Greek thing about one man dying for everybody else, but you won't find that nowhere in the Old Testament. And I was like, obviously he never read the Old Testament. The Lord just didn't show him.
Yeah,
it's all over. It's all over. Like you're saying, like prophecies of Christ coming in, dying for our sins.
Well, yeah, and the what we just read, right, in Isaiah, the 53rd chapter, when we read the rest of that chapter at the end of this class, we'll find that the Lord did send one man to die for the rest of the nation of Israel. Like that, he did do that. That's in the Old Testament. That's in the Bible. You understand? It's not a Greek. Greeks don't believe in one man dying for everybody else. They believe in everybody dying for everybody because they're selfish. That's what they believe in. They don't believe in brotherhood. And that's what Christ represents, is the brotherhood that he displayed by putting himself on that goddamn cross. When that's a terrible way to die, brother. It's a terrible way to die. But let's get into it, right? So before we even get to that, let's just get to the prophecy in Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, that shows us that there's somebody that's going to come. Now, let's read Deuteronomy 18 and verse 18.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee.
So now this is the Most High speaking to who? Moses. The Most High is speaking to Moses here, and he's saying, I'm going to raise them. Who's them? The children of Israel. I'm going to raise the children of Israel a prophet from among their brethren. So this isn't going to be some outsider coming in. We're not going to have some outside king or outside prophet coming in. It's going to be an Israelite. The Most High is going to raise them up like unto thee, like unto Moses. All right, keep going.
And will put my words in his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him.
And he shall speak. That's what Moses did. Moses spoke everything that the Most High commanded the children of Israel. Okay, once again, we talked about this at the beginning of the class, that the Most High never dealt with us face to face, not the whole children of Israel. He dealt with Moses face to face. And Moses is the one that delivered those commandments to us. So when you see thou shalt not, that's not, the Lord ain't saying that. The Lord told that to Moses to tell us. You understand? Like the Most High didn't. Now, of course, we see that the first time that the Most High dealt with the children of Israel as a whole at Mount Sinai, the children of Israel was like, hell no, I don't want that, because he came down in that cloud with thunder and lightning. You understand? The children of Israel, they weren't ready for that. And I mean, I I can imagine. You understand? You understand? Because that's an amazing power, and they just wasn't ready. They was like, look, Moses, you deal with him. He's too mighty of a power for us. He's too scary. So the Most High had to put his words in Moses' mouth. And Moses was the one that delivered the words to us. Now, why does the Most High say he's going to raise up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee? Well, what's so special about Moses?
Moses is an Israelite.
Not just, yes, but that's not what's the like unto thee? Why is the Most High saying like unto thee?
It's because Moses was the one that was, you say, ruler at the time.
He was their Messiah. Did not Moses lead the children of Israel out of the captivity of Egypt? He delivered them out of the, now, of course, through the hand of the Most High. But whose staff was it that split them waters? That was Moses' staff. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now it was only through the power of the Most High. I'm not giving no credit to Moses in that fashion.
Right.
However, he was the one that delivered the children of Israel through the Most High. So so when it says like unto thee, it's because just like how Moses led the children of Israel out of captivity in Egypt, Christ is going to lead the children of Israel out of captivity, out of wherever we're scattered abroad. You understand? Wherever we're scattered abroad. So let's keep reading, right? Verse 19.
Okay. Verse 19. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him.
Just like how when they wouldn't listen to Moses, they got put to death. When they wouldn't listen to Moses, the ground opened up and swallowed these men and women up because they would not hearken unto the words that Moses delivered. Well, just like that, if you don't listen to Christ, the same thing is going to happen to you. If you don't take heed to the words of the Most High through Christ, the words that Christ delivered, if you don't have your faith in Christ and follow Christ, well, you're going to be put to death just like those Israelites in the wilderness. It's the same thing. Now, some people, give me Deuteronomy, the 34th chapter. Now, some people will say that prophecy is talking about Joshua. Y'all know that Moses could not go into the land. I'm going to break this down for y'all. Moses couldn't go into the land. He disobeyed the Most High once out of his anger. And he was told by the Most High, you will not see the promised land. He had to die right outside of the promised land before the children of Israel could go in. And so he had to raise up Joshua to bring the children of Israel into that land. Now, some people will attribute this only to Joshua. All right. I want you to understand that. All right. Now, as you can contribute this to Joshua, right? Because Joshua did come right after Moses, and he did lead them into the land of Israel, right? And he was of their brethren. Although you can attribute it to Joshua, I'm going to show you why you can't only attribute it to him and how you must attribute it to Christ. Give me Deuteronomy 34:9.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 34, verse 9. And Joshua, the son of Nun, was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel hearkened unto him, as the Lord commanded Moses.
Right. So now this, I could totally understand why you're going to attribute what we just read to this man, because it is, right? But now keep reading.
Okay, verse 10. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face.
Nobody knew the Lord face to face between Moses and Christ. No prophet. Joshua didn't know the Lord face to face. Right? So now, once again, you can attribute Deuteronomy the 18th chapter to Joshua. You can. However, you'd be a fool not to attribute it, especially after what we just read, not to attribute it to Christ. And just something I like to always throw in there, this is the wisdom in like the mysteries of the Bible, right? Now, I'm not trying to be spooky, right? But there's something that's called dual prophecy fulfillment, right? There are things that we're actually going to read one next. Go to Isaiah the 7th chapter. We're going to read one next. But there's things that were fulfilled in times past, but were a sign of things to come. So that prophecy in Deuteronomy the 18th chapter did get fulfilled with Joshua. Understand that. But it was a sign of what was to come into the future. And I always like to throw this in there. What's Joshua's name in the Hebrew? Yahusha. If you take that into the Greek, which is what you know, Jesus. You understand? Just think about that for a second. It's a sign. That's the way the Most High works like that. You understand? The Most High works like that. And he put these things in order like this for the prophets to reveal to the people. All right. So go ahead.
I don't mean to be disruptive, but I missed that last part, the very point of the last that we just went over. I remember you were talking about nobody had known, or the Most High face to face, like between Moses and Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I missed like the point of like how is it that we can't attribute it only to Moses, but we have to make sure that we attribute it to Christ.
I'm losing. So you saying okay? I think I get what the question that you're asking is. So you saying how do we have to attribute it to Christ also?
Yes.
What you're saying? Okay. The reason why we have to attribute it to Christ also is because in Deuteronomy 34:10 it says, "And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face." Nobody knew the Most High face to face since Moses. So that Joshua didn't know the Most High face to face. So the only other prophet that we know that knew the Most High face to face, who's we know right now is sitting on the right hand of the Father, is Christ. You get what I mean? So that's why we have to attribute that to Christ, right? But I'm gonna show y'all more about this dual fulfillment and how important it is, because another reason why this class is important as well is because you'll find people that only believe in the Old Testament. They believe that Christ is a false idol. They think we idolize him, we worship him. They'll say that the New Testament is Greek. They'll say all of that, right? And they'll say it's based off of Zeus and it's based off of Egypt and it's all of these things, right? So, and a lot of times what they'll do is when we use these prophecies, like even the one that we just brought out in Deuteronomy 18th chapter, they'll say, well, that's not Christ, that's Joshua. Well, we just cut that it's only Joshua. We proved that it has to be pertaining somebody else other than Joshua also. You understand? But now we're going to go to Isaiah the 7th chapter, because this is another one. If you don't know how to battle this, you're going to get cut by an Old Testament only. Somebody that only believes in the Old Testament, they study that thing fervently. All right? So you got to study this. We got to understand how to combat this, right? So give me Isaiah 7 and matter of fact, let me get there with you. Isaiah 7 and verse 14.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 7, verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel.
And shall what now? So look, a virgin. Now we use this. Christians use it. Everybody knows that this is a prophecy about Christ, right? A virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Emmanuel means just God with us, right? Keep going.
Okay. Verse 15. Butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know the refuse of, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. Verse 16. For before the child shall know to refuse the evil and choose the good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings.
Now, we use this prophecy, Isaiah 7 and 14, right? A virgin of the Lord himself shall give you a sign. A virgin shall conceive. What's this prophecy about?
Mary and Joseph said.
That's what we know it to be, right? All right, but look, read now. Go to chapter 8. I'm just gonna show y'all something. All right, go to chapter 8 and read verse 3.
Book of Isaiah, chapter 8, verse 3. And I went unto the prophetess, and she conceived and bare a son.
Mm-hmm.
Then said the Lord to me, call his name Mahir Sha'al
Hashbaz.
Mm-hmm. For before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria.
Now remember, we just read in Isaiah 7, it said, for for before the child shall know how to refuse evil and choose good, the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken of both her kings. What did we just read? We just read, before the child shall have knowledge to cry, my father and my mother, the riches of Damascus and the spoil of Samaria shall be taken away before the king of Assyria. What we're reading is that the fulfillment of the prophecy we just read. And that's where somebody's going to take you to say, well, that prophecy is not about Christ, right? Somebody can take you there and say, well, that prophecy in Isaiah 7:14 that you attribute to Christ, therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son. We attribute that to Christ. They're saying you can't do that because we see that, and it's true. That prophecy is being fulfilled right here in Isaiah 8:3, right? However, I'm going to show y'all something that they don't understand. There is something that's called dual fulfillment of prophecy. And I'm going to show you right now. Isaiah 8:18. Just drop down. We're in the same story, same timeline. Just drop down. Verse 18.
Verse 18. Behold, I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for signs and for wonders.
No, hold on. I and the children whom the Lord hath given me are for what?
For signs and for wonders.
And for wonders. Go ahead.
In Israel. From the Lords of hosts. So okay, from the Lord of hosts.
Go ahead.
Which dwelleth in Mount Zion.
So what is he saying? He's saying the children that I got from this prophecy, it's a deeper meaning. They're for sign and for wonders. Give me Luke the 2nd chapter. I'm gonna show y'all something. Because once again, this prophecy is about Christ, but it's also about this boy that was born here as well. We have to understand how that's possible. This brother just said, I and the children whom the Lord have given me are for signs and for wonders. A sign of things to come. A wonder, right? Give me Luke 2:34. Let's understand something about this. All right. And we're going to directly relate this to Christ.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 34. And Simeon blessed them and said unto Mary, his mother, behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against.
Right. This child, this Christ, this is talking about Christ now, right? He said, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against. You have to understand that these prophecies are manifold, all right? And that's what you see in Isaiah the 7th chapter. You see this prophecy being applied almost immediately. A virgin doesn't mean, just to be clear, in case anybody's confused, a virgin doesn't mean somebody that's never had sex before. A virgin just means it's only a woman can be a virgin. A man can't be a virgin. A virgin just means a woman that is of marriageable age, meaning she's old enough to now be available to be married. You understand? And she can pass her virginity. She can never have sex and be 40, 50 years old, and she's in menopause now, and now she's past her virginity. And now she's no longer a virgin, even though she's never had sex. A virgin just means a woman of marriageable age. So when that prophecy says that a virgin shall conceive, it's just talking about a young woman of marriageable age. All right. Well, that's the same thing that happened in the time of Isaiah, and the same thing that happened with Mary. Mary wasn't, she was having sex with Joseph. You understand? That's the type of virgin. She was a young woman of marriageable age, right? And that's how that prophecy was able to be fulfilled in the so-called New Testament with Christ. So now let's go to Proverbs the 8th chapter real quick. This one's going to be kind of long. We're going to go through this. I want to get as many of these as possible. It's a million prophecies of Christ in the so-called Old Testament, but I want to get through some of them so we can understand how important and necessary Christ is to the whole idea of us being Israelites and, having the promise of the Most High. It's always been important, right? Like I said, we go back to Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, and we can go back before that and see the order of Melchizedek. We can see that Christ has played a part in every integral part of the Bible. All right. So now we're going to go to Proverbs. Now, Proverbs was written by Solomon. Okay. And it's supposed to just be a book of wisdom, but it has a book of prophecy as well, and a book of understanding. All right. So let's get Proverbs, the 8th chapter. Let's start at verse 22.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 8, verse 22. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was.
And this is Solomon speaking. Okay, now this is part of the reason why this is only part of the reason why we understand Solomon to be one of the incarnations of Christ. All right, because Solomon was not set up before the earth ever was. That's not true. Solomon was born after he was the son of David. You understand? Mm-hmm. So this is not true for Solomon, but this is talking about Christ. All right, this is talking about his being Christ. Right? He said, I was set up from everlasting, meaning before anything ever was, I was, right? You got something?
Sloppy, if I could add a little clarification
Mhm.
to the point. So the Malak Shalomah, King Solomon is not speaking of himself as this one lifetime. He's actually speaking spiritually.
Yeah, this is a spirit. This is a spiritual connotation here.
So he's fully aware that I am one incarnation of this spirit, and this is me.
I couldn't necessarily say whether or not he was aware. You know, the scriptures say in the book of Ecclesiastes, and he wrote Ecclesiastes as well. There is no remembrance of former things, so you can't necessarily tell whether or not who you were in a past life or whatever. So I wouldn't muddy it up like that. But he's speaking spiritually. He wrote this down in such a poetic form. I mean, who knows what he was thinking when he wrote this? But this is for sure talking about Christ, and we're going to prove that it's talking about Christ, right? It's almost like if you think about it, think about how when Adam was put under a deep sleep and he went and got his rib, he didn't know what the hell he was doing. Well, Solomon is writing this down, and this is talking about Christ. Who's to know and say whether or not he knew it was about Christ or knew he was one of the incarnations of Christ? However, this is talking about Christ, right? So let's keep reading. Verse 24.
Verse 24. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth.
Keep going.
While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world, when he prepared the heavens, I was there.
Right. And once again, we're in the book of Proverbs. This is Solomon speaking. He's saying, I was there. This is talking about Christ. When he prepared the heavens, Christ was there. Christ was there from the beginning. Keep going.
When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree, that the waters should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him, as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him.
Go ahead.
Rejoicing in the habitable part of his earth, and my delights were with the sons of men.
Now give me Colossians, the first chapter. We're going to get a precept to this to further understand it. All right.
Colossians, the first chapter?
Colossians, the first chapter. And this is going to be important in understanding a few things about Christ. Once again, Christ was most certainly in the Old Testament. He was spoken about many times in the Old Testament. Ask somebody that only believes in the Old Testament and does not believe in Christ, ask them what the hell this is talking about, and they won't have an answer for you. Right? Well, we do have the answer because we understand the Bible. We understand what this thing is talking about. Okay, so now we're going to go into Colossians, the first chapter. We're going to get a precept and understand this, right? The second thing that this clarifies is that there is no such thing as the so-called Holy Trinity. The Most High is not the Son. The Most High is not Christ. Christ is not the Most High. The Most High is not Christ. Christ is not the Most High. They are two totally separate entities, and the Most High is the Father of Christ. Yes, I'm.
So my question, real quick, was just where did they get that whole Christ is the Most High having the earthly experience thing from? Like, where did they?
That comes from so when you go into like I wouldn't call them the early church, but like it's like the ante-Nicene church fathers around like 200 or 300 BC. I mean BC AD, a little bit after that. So around like 400 AD is when you really had the whole Christ was the Father having an earthly experience. That's when you had these people that were having these councils, people from different schools of thought. They all so-called believed in Christ. However, they all had different beliefs about Christ. Some people thought that Christ was the Most High. Some people thought that Christ was just a man, and some people thought that Christ was the Most High putting on like some sort of like a suit of flesh. You understand? You know. So and it was like a debate. It was almost like well, I don't want to compare it to anything that you might see. I will though. It's almost like how you have there's only one truth, right?
Right. And
you see other people, there's these other groups, maybe the Israelite groups or Christian churches or whatever, they'll debate us on whether or not they have this doctrine called oneness, where Christ and the Father are one being, I don't really know how to break it down all the way yet, but it's because it's ridiculous. It's not true. But it's not the Trinity, because the Trinity is the Father, Son, Holy Ghost. That's three distinct persons, but one being. It's retarded. Doesn't make any sense.
So it's a schizophrenic.
Yeah, it's like a schizophrenic. It's not even just it's polytheism, because really in essence the Trinity is like three guys, right? But I don't want to go too far off. Let's read this. I just want to dismantle it. I don't even want to talk about it.
Okay.
So give me Colossians 1 and 12.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 1 and verse 12. Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son.
Right. So now is talking about Christ, saying has translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. Go ahead.
In whom we have redemption through his blood.
Right. Through his blood, meaning the blood of Christ. Go ahead.
Even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature.
So now what does that say? The what?
The firstborn of every creature.
So now what we have to say is that Christ was the very first creation of the Lord, which means that Christ was created, which means he had to have a creator, which is the Most High. Now he was the first creation for sure. And that's what we just read in Proverbs, the 8th chapter. Excuse me. That's what we just read, right? And so when you go into the so-called Old Testament, and you read about Christ, they understood what Christ was. Nobody tried to deify Christ. Now people are trying to deify Christ and make him God. You understand? And that's just not the case. But that is the precept to what we just read, right? Paul is saying he's the firstborn of every creature. Well, Proverbs the 8th chapter just went through a list of things that Christ was before. He was before the Most High set the earth and the heavens. He was before the mountains. He was before the seas. He was before everything, right? He was the firstborn of every creature. All right. And another precept to that, give me Micah the 5th chapter. Let's go on to Micah the 5th chapter. This will be a quick one, just one verse. Excuse me, y'all. I'm getting over this cold or sickness or whatever the hell it is. So forgive me. This is another prophecy of Christ, but I want to show you it's a precept to what we was just talking about as far as Christ going from everlasting. Micah the 5th chapter, the second verse.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 5, verse 2. But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee.
Out of what?
Out of thee.
Out of where? Bethlehem, right? Go ahead.
Shall he come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel.
Who is that? Who came out of Bethlehem that we know? Christ, right? Christ came out of Bethlehem, and he's the one that's to be ruler in Israel. This is another prophecy. Now, we're doing two things at once. Another prophecy concerning Christ. The ruler over Israel, the Messiah to come, had to come out of Bethlehem, even though they're little among the thousands of Judah. Yet out of thee, he shall come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel. This is talking about Christ. Keep going. Who's going forth?
Verse 4.
No, end of verse 2.
End of verse 3. Okay.
End of verse 2.
Verse 2. Who's going forth? Goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting.
Right. Christ goings forth have been from old and from everlasting. Now, that don't sound like it's talking about, because see, somebody could try to attribute this to a person, like just a regular person, right? But this isn't talking about somebody who, just came on the scene. This is talking about somebody whose goings forth have been from old, from everlasting. Well, we just read that Christ was the first creation, right? And then we read in Proverbs the 8th chapter that Christ was before the heavens and the earth were even created. Christ was the first thing that was created. Well, that's from everlasting. Christ is his goings forth have been from everlasting, right? Now, let's go to Psalms the 78th chapter. We're going to keep knocking these prophecies out and just understanding that this is important, right? Because if we can go now, you can say that you believe and you can have all of the faith in the world, and that's cool. Blind faith is, it's a thing. I like to be sure. You understand? And there's a reason why I believe in this Bible. I don't, if I just believe in the Bible because somebody told me to, then I'd be in the Christian church. because that's where people go that just want to be told about the Bible and not understand it, and really not even told about the Bible. They just want to be told what people say or think about the Bible, which is what church is, Christianity, right? Me, I like to make my election sure. I like to know if this is what I'm gonna do with the rest of my life. Let me figure out why this is and what this is. You understand it? So let me figure out. There was a time, I'm gonna tell y'all this. There was a time before I came into the truth that I questioned Christ. Like I read up on a couple of things, and I felt like there were some inconsistencies with like Christ, and the different gospels had these different narratives, is what I thought in my head. And even with the whole Isaiah, what we just went over, the Isaiah 7th chapter, where it talks about the virgin shall conceive, I saw somebody tear that into pieces. I was like, damn, that can't be talking about Christ, because you go into the 8th chapter like we just did, and that's talking about somebody else. It wasn't until, and so this is what I do, and I would advise everybody to do this when you're researching anything, because I don't just throw anything away. I don't just discount anything. I research for and against the thing that I'm looking at. So I don't just research against. I'm like, damn, I don't like this, and I'm just going to research against it. You can't do that, because then now you're biased and you're one-sided, and you're no better than if you would have just believed the thing blindly, right? So what you have to do is you have to research for and against. And what I came up with my studies, and then of course once I came into the truth and found, was that Christ was the Messiah, and he was prophesied in the Old Testament. And that's why this class is important to me, because my faith in Christ at one time was wavering. And so I had to reaffirm and strengthen my faith. And going into the scriptures and learning and understanding these things reaffirms your faith. Not just somebody telling you, brother, you just got to have faith. That's garbage. And what it does is it gives you a false sense of faith. Because like, damn, I guess I'm wrong if I don't believe. So I guess I just better believe. No, let's try to figure this thing out. Let's parse through these scriptures and figure this thing out. Yeah, and when you come to these classes and you find out the things that you didn't know, and you do the research for and against, you start to find out the truth. And that's why these things are important, right? And so point being in my giving y'all that story is just to give y'all the understanding that you have to don't blindly follow. That's what Christians do. That's why we have a scripture breakdown class. That's why when you come to class, you can ask questions. You can put all your questions in the chat. You can ask them in person, and we'll answer all you. We don't dodge questions. You understand? And so we got the answers. And so here's Psalms, the 78th chapter. Let's start at verse 1.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 78, verse 1. Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old.
So he said, I will open up my mouth in a parable, and I will utter dark sayings of old. Remember that. Keep going.
Which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, showing to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and his strength and his wonderful works that he hath done.
Now hold for me Matthew the 13th chapter. Here's what I want y'all to understand. The book of Psalms is not only a book of just poetry. All right. It's not just a book of songs. It's also a book of prophecy. Okay. There's plenty of prophecy in there. We all love the prophecy in Psalms 137. When I talk about us dashing in pieces, the children, right? It's a book of it's a vast amount of prophecy in the book of Psalms. Okay. And so we understand that David was a prophet. You understand? And a lot of people that were around him at the time, like people get it confused that there was only like one or two prophets at a time. Like you had Ezekiel, and then there were no other prophets, and then you had like Obadiah. And a lot of these prophets were contemporaries with each other. They was alive at the same time, and they had other prophets. You know, the scriptures say that Jezebel, she was killing hundreds of prophets. Hundreds. So, yeah, there was a lot of prophets at one time, and these prophets were all delivering the word of the Most High. You just find the major prophets in the Bible that are recorded here: Isaiah, Obadiah, Ezekiel, Habakkuk, all of them. But it was hundreds of prophets. Okay, I just want y'all to understand that, right? So now we're gonna talk about this prophecy. I told y'all to remember something out of that chapter. Let's read Matthew 13 and 34. Matter of fact, read 33 just to get some context.
I got book of Matthew, chapter 13, verse 33. Another parable spake he unto them.
And this is Christ speaking another parable. Go ahead.
The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 34.
Mm-hmm.
All these things spake Jesus unto the multitude in parables.
Yeah, so look, that's how Christ spoke. He spoke in parables, right? Go ahead.
Without a parable spake he not unto them.
And without a parable spake he not unto them. He always spoke in parables. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 35. That it might be fulfilled.
That it might what?
That it might be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
Which was spoken by the prophet, saying, I will open my mouth in parables.
Mm-hmm.
I will utter things which have been kept secret from the foundation of the world.
We just read that in Psalm 78 and 2, right? I will open up my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old. Well, that's how Christ spoke, right? And Matthew was explaining that. He's saying that's how that prophecy got fulfilled, because that's how Christ only spoke to the disciples. He only spoke in parable. And that's, remember, Christ, the disciples asked Christ, well, why do you always talk to us in parables? Like, why can't you just talk like regular? Like, just talk to us like a person, you know? And he like, well, I talk to y'all in parables because it's for y'all to understand. Those who don't understand this parable, it's not for them. And that's why when he would give parables in front of the Sadducees and Pharisees, they were like, what the hell are you talking about? Right? Even Nicodemus was an Israelite, that, you know, a ruler of the Jews, right?
Right.
And when he told them, you must be born again, he like, what? I gotta jump back in my mother's stomach? Christ like, damn, you the ruler, you a master of the Jews, a doctor of the law, and you don't even understand this? Well, that's because it wasn't for him to understand, right? So that's what he told his disciples, and that's what Matthew was explaining. The reason why he spoke like that is because that was a fulfillment of the prophecy in Psalms the 78th chapter. Now let's go to Psalms the 16th chapter. Let's get another one. All right. It's all over the place. You just find these prophecies of Christ all over the place. What you come to find out is that this book is widely about. When I say this book, I'm talking about the Bible itself. Is widely it widely involves Christ. Christ is in this Bible a whole lot more than you would have thought. But of course, it has to be revealed unto you for you to be able to get it, right? So we're gonna get Psalms the 16th chapter. We'll start at the 8th verse.
To the book of Psalm, chapter 16, verse 8. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Therefore, my heart is glad, and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope.
Now, this is a Psalm of David, right? This is David. This is a psalm, right, or a poem or a song, right? He said, I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand. I shall not be moved. Therefore, my heart is glad, and my glory rejoiceth. My flesh also shall rest in hope. Go ahead, verse 10.
For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption.
What the hell is he talking about? You know, David is a man. He has to die.
Right.
So he's going to see corruption. Give me Acts the 2nd chapter. He's going to see corruption. David has to die. He's a man. He knows he's going to die. And what corruption means is that flesh is going to wither away. Okay? When you get buried into that sepulcher or into that grave, you know, your flesh is going to rot off of your bones. Your flesh is going to deteriorate. That's corruption. All right? But he's saying that will not leave my soul in hell. What's your soul? Your body. Okay? Not leave my soul in hell. What's the hell that this is talking about? Talking about the grave. So David is saying, he's talking to the Most High. He's saying, you will not leave my body in the grave. Neither will you suffer your Holy One to see corruption. Let's see what this is talking about. Now we're going to read Acts the 2nd chapter and the 22nd verse on down. It's a little lengthy, but just we got to get all this context with it. All right.
Gotcha. This is the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 22. Ye men of Israel, hear these words. Jesus of Nazareth, a man approved of God among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which God did by him in the midst of you, as you yourselves also know. Him being delivered by the determinate counsel and foreknowledge of God, ye have taken, and by wicked hands have crucified and slain,
Go ahead.
whom God hath raised up, having loosed the pains of death.
Now we understand that Christ died, right? He was crucified by the hands of wicked men. All right. But the Most High raised him up. We understand what? Christ, he was in the grave for 3 days, right? Just like as that prophecy of Jonah, right? He said, just like the story of Jonah, how he was in the belly of that fish for 3 days. Well, I'll be in the grave for 3 days and I'll rise up. And that's what happened. What happened there? The Lord didn't allow his body to stay in hell, his soul to remain in hell or to remain in the grave, right? Because he got out of the grave after 3 days and he was raised up. But that's not what we're stopping at. Keep going.
Whom God hath raised up, having loosed the pains of death, because it was not possible that he should be holden of it.
Right. Because that prophecy had to be fulfilled, right? Death could not hold on to Christ. Keep going.
For David speaketh concerning him.
For David speaketh concerning him, what we just read in the book of Psalms, the 16th chapter, right? David speaketh concerning him. Go ahead.
I foresaw the Lord always before my face, for he is on my right hand, that I should not be moved.
Now he's quoting what we just read. He's quoting everything that we just read in Psalms, the 16th chapter, right? Keep going.
Therefore did my heart rejoice, and my tongue was glad. Moreover, also my flesh shall rest in hope, because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell.
Go ahead.
Neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption.
That's what we just read, and that applies to Christ directly. And we see that it's being applied to Christ right here. This, I believe, is Peter speaking this. All right. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Peter is saying this to the whole this is at Pentecost. All right. And he's telling the whole congregation that that was the fulfillment of Psalms, the 16th chapter. David was speaking concerning Christ and saying that he would not leave, the Most High would not leave his soul or body in the grave, and that his body would not be allowed to see corruption. You know, after a few days in that grave, your worms start getting at you. Your body's gonna start deteriorating. Well, Christ wasn't allowed to see corruption. So after those 3 days, he came out of that sepulcher, out of that grave, and he was raised up by the Most High, taken up by the Most High, because that prophecy had to be fulfilled. And Peter is making it known that is the prophecy. All right, you had something, Mark? All right, let's read verse 28.
Verse 28. Thou hast made known to me the ways of life. Thou shalt make me full of joy with thy countenance. Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David.
And now let's understand how this prophecy must be talking about Christ and could not be talking about David, because David was the one that said it, right? In Psalms, the 16th chapter. He the one that wrote those words down. Okay, keep going.
That he is both dead and buried.
He's dead and buried. Go ahead.
And his sepulcher is with us unto this day.
His sepulcher is with us unto this day. We know where David's buried. Right now, we can go open the door to that sepulcher and his bones is in there. Flesh is rotted off of it. Ain't nothing but bones now, because his body was allowed to see corruption. You understand? His soul was allowed to stay in hell, in that grave. So David was talking about something else, someone else. Keep on.
Therefore, being a prophet and knowing that God had sworn with an oath to him that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would raise up Christ to sit on his throne.
So that's how that prophecy could be fulfilled. And that's why David understood what he was talking about. He knew that his body was going to rot. He knew that he was going to see corruption, but he knew that on his throne would come a king that would not see corruption. He knew that on his throne, because that's what the Most High promised him. The Most High promised him that your throne will last forever. So he said, I'm not going to see corruption, but that's through my seed. And through his seed came Christ, who did not see corruption, who sits on the throne of David. Right? Keep going. Verse 31.
Verse 31. He, seeing this before, spake of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell, neither his flesh did see corruption. This Jesus hath God raised up, wherefore we all are witnesses.
Whereof?
Whereof we all are witnesses.
And we all are witnesses of that. Well, of course, this is talking about them. Now, give me Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. We're going to read what we started off. We're going to come full circle. And we're going to read that prophecy that we started off with, Isaiah, the 53rd chapter. All right. Once again, I mean, that's pretty clear cut. And these brothers understood that. See, and they're smarter than, if you think that you know more than them, you don't. Okay, they're much smarter than you. They walked in the time of Christ, and they understood that this was at a time when they understood the Bible. It wasn't, it's not like today with your TD Jakes, and Kirk Franklin sitting on his lap, giving him a lap dance. You understand? It ain't that. These brothers wasn't doing that. These brothers was devout men, Jews. You understand? Let's read Isaiah 53rd chapter. Now we're going to break down what we started off with, okay? Because once again, we had asked the question, who is the arm of the Lord revealed to? All right? And we understand that it was revealed to the prophets, and here we are revealing it to y'all. And that's why we're going through all of these different scriptures to be able to explain to y'all where Christ comes from, the prophecy of Christ, and why the prophecy is so important. Okay, well, now we're going to go in Isaiah 53rd chapter. We're going to break that down as well. So give me Isaiah 53 and just start from the top.
Okay. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 1. Who hath believed our report? And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of the dry ground.
And he's going to come up as a root out of the dry ground, right? What is that talking about, out of the dry ground? Remember, go ahead.
It's a reference to the environment into which he was born, whereas the question is being posed from the position of like a damn Roman. It's like, is there anything that could come good out of, let's say, the projects? What is that?
Right.
Kind of,
Because what the people said is what? Is there any good thing that can come out of Nazareth?
Yeah, come.
You understand? Because he came out of a place that nobody thought any good thing could come from.
Roaches and rats.
Right. You had a point to make?
So I was gonna say, like, when you talk about the dry ground, you're talking in terms of gardening, right? Mm-hmm. The ground has to be moist for the plant to grow. Mm-hmm. So dry ground is no good for farming. Not good to grow plants.
Right.
So a tender plant growing out of a dry ground, as we said, come out of somewhere that's destitute. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere that doesn't produce anything good.
Right. Exactly. And so, and that's part of the point, right? Because especially when you talk about what people want somebody like your Creflo Dollar, who he comes on with a nice $1,000 three-piece suit. You understand? Nice big building. Well, everybody gonna listen to him because he got all the money and he got that comeliness that people would desire him. You understand? But this man, he came out of a place where you wouldn't think any good thing to come from. Right? Keep going. Middle of two.
It says, he had no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him.
Right, and that's exactly what we're talking about, what we just said, right? Keep going.
He is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, and acquainted with grief. And we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not.
Now hold for me, Acts the 3rd chapter, right? Because it says he was despised, and we esteemed him not. He was somebody that we should have esteemed, somebody that we should not have despised, somebody that we should not have rejected. We should have accepted him, right? But we didn't. And we're going to talk about that for a minute. Give me Acts the 3rd chapter and 13th verse.
The book of Acts, chapter 3, and verse 13. The God of Abraham, and of Isaac, and of Jacob, the God of our fathers, hath glorified his son Jesus, whom ye delivered up and denied him in the presence of Pilate, when he was determined to let him go.
You know, Pilate didn't want to put Christ to death. You know, Pontius Pilate did not want to put Christ to death. He like, damn, nah, I don't think this is a good idea. Something about this man. But y'all wasn't having it. I was like, no, he got to go. He got to go. He calling himself God he calling himself the Son of God, and you know, he's doing all of these magic tricks, turning water to wine, and you know, witchcraft, healing people. He got to go, man. But Pilate didn't want that, right? Keep going.
Verse 14. But ye denied the Holy One and the just, and desired a murderer to be granted unto you.
Mm-hmm. You would have rather had a murderer to be your leader, to be your king. Right? Keep going.
Fuck, can I read that one more time?
Go ahead.
Verse 14. No, verse 13. If you don't mind, sir.
Go ahead.
The God of Abraham and of Isaac and of Jacob, the God of our fathers, hath glorified his son, Jesus, whom ye delivered up, and denied him in the presence of Pilate, when he was determined to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
But ye denied the Holy One and the just, and desired a murderer to be granted unto you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And killed the Prince of Life, whom God hath raised from the dead, whereof we are witnesses.
And we just read that in the second chapter, right? When Peter said that we were witnesses of Christ raising up. We were witnesses of that. Go ahead. You have something?
Slaggy, I don't want that. That's extremely scary, actually. This is the charge. This is the like you know how there's like a police chase, and then they tack all your charges on for you hitting stuff, but there's the main charge. This is like you're guilty of the death of the Most High Power's Son, Christ. And this is like, this is huge. It's like, yeah, this is the one right here. This is the big charge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want y'all to give me now. Go down to verse 17.
Verse 17. And now, brethren, I wot that through ignorance ye did it, as did also your ruler.
And so now what he's saying is, I understand that through ignorance you did that. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. Put yourself in the timeline of Christ, all right? And imagine being a member of some, it's the only way I can describe it for somebody in this day and age. Imagine being a member of some really, really strict Christian church, all right? Got to pay your tithes. They still enforce all of that type of stuff. And you can't come to the Christian. It's almost like what my father would have grown up going to church where the women couldn't wear pants, they had to wear a dress. And, women and men had to sit separate and things like that, right? Very strict. And they had this specific, very extremely specific doctrine about Christ. And then some man comes on the scene. And there's a lot of people that call themselves Christ. Like a lot of people that come on the scene and be like, I'm Jesus Christ. I'm the Messiah. And they do a lot of weird stuff and talk weird. And, you look at it like they blaspheming the Most High. And that's how these people was looking at Jesus. They was looking at it like, this cat calling himself the Son of God. He only talking stories. He only talking parables. I mean, who the hell is this dude? Who the F does he think he is? He got to go, man. At that time, you could put to death for idolatry, for blaspheming the Lord. You could put to death for those things. They were still stoning cats back then. So that's why they delivered him up, because it was through ignorance. They didn't realize what they had, what they was dealing with. So, and that's why he's saying to these brothers, I wot that through ignorance you did it, as also did your rulers. Because I think the rulers, they didn't understand anything about Christ. They didn't understand what Christ was or what he came to do. They just thought he was somebody coming to blaspheme the Lord. And they hated him because he said he was the Son of God. But it was true. They just didn't want to accept it. They didn't believe it, right? Let's keep reading verse 18.
Verse 18. But those things which God before had showed by the mouth of all his prophets that Christ should suffer, he hath so fulfilled.
Now let's go back. to Isaiah 53. Okay, and we'll be going back and forth from Isaiah 53, but right, it says, "Show by the mouth of all his prophets that Christ should suffer." Well, Christ fulfilled that because of y'all, and so let's read Isaiah the 53rd chapter. Let's read it verse 4.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 4. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted.
Right. He bore our griefs. He carried our griefs. He died for our sins. He carried the burden that we were supposed to carry. He died for the death that we were supposed to die. Our death penalty. He took it. Right? Keep going.
But he was wounded for our transgressions.
He was wounded for our transgressions. Now, why would anybody remember how you were saying earlier, Razan, that people say, "Oh, this is like Greek custom. The New Testament is like Greek custom and everything." Because how does one man die for another? But we just reading in the Old Testament right now. This is Isaiah the 53rd chapter, where it says, "He hath borne our grief. He carried our sorrows. He was wounded for our transgressions." What are you talking about? It's not. What are you talking about? This is the concept of the Bible talking about Christ, or whoever the hell you think the Messiah is, or whoever the hell you think is taking the blame for our sins, whoever the hell you think that is. Well, this is talking about it right here, right in front of us. Right? Keep going.
He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed.
Right, and with his stripes we are healed. It's ridiculous, right? Look, Matthew, I'm just read this real quick. Matthew 26 and 67 it says, "Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, Prophesy unto us, thou Christ, who is he that smote thee?" Like these people, when they went to take him to slaughter on the way, they spitting in his face, hitting him with shit, punching him, beating him with whips. And he ain't deserve a goddamn bit of it. He never did a thing in his life to nobody, never hurt a fly. Do you understand? But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. And with his stripes, we are healed. He had to go through that so we don't have to. Because we deserve that. We deserve to be the ones that get spit on, get beat the hell up, whipped, put to death, hung on a goddamn tree. We deserve those things because of our sin. But instead, he got hanged on a tree. Instead, he was whipped. He was bruised. You had something, Mark?
Concert question, if I could. The brother, what was that brother's name that helped him carry the cross when he was being led to where they were going to crucify him?
I can't recall.
Is this brother worthy of any type of note?
I mean, he's in the Bible. Is that what you mean? You say note like what? I mean, he's scribed in the Bible.
I mean, I kind of like I have trouble. Like you know, it's like, is it a sign of brotherhood to help him carry his cross if all you're really doing is you're walking into a place where Romans are going to execute your brother? Is that really brotherhood?
Let's go to Mark 15 and 21.
Mark 15 and 21.
Yeah, Mark 15 and 21. Let's do it real quick.
This is book of Mark, chapter 15, verse 21. And they compelled one Simon, a Cyrenian, who passed by coming out of the country, the father of Alexander and Rufus, to bear his cross.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring him unto the place Golgotha, which is being interpreted the place of a skull.
So now that's pretty much all that you need right here. But what is the question that you have about that? So that's what his name is, Simon.
Okay. Is he? I mean, did he do a good? Well,
no, they had to tell him to do it.
Yeah. So
I mean, I wouldn't. You know, we can only speculate. But I mean, they had to. They told him something. He was just passing by. He was just walking by, and they were like, "Hey, you, help him carry that cross." And so he did it. So I wouldn't say whether or not it's brotherhood or not. I would just say somebody told him to do it, and he did it. Probably because he was scared. Go ahead.
Like, sir, like in all seriousness, would this as a brother, would this have been a good time to run?
Who?
For Simon.
Nah. Well, no. This ain't the Simon. Are you thinking this is the Simon like one of the disciples?
All I'm looking at is the scenario itself. I don't want. And I mean,
He was just passing by, and they told him, "Hey, help him hold up that cross." You know, he was being escorted by the Romans, like the Roman band. So he was, you know, I'm sure he was just doing what the hell he was told.
I think what I just did is try to stop prophecy retrospectively. Because I'm like, well, could he have stopped Christ from being crucified? He would have ran there, chased him, left Christ alone.
Yeah.
I think
That would have been out of the spirit, because
Yeah,
even Peter tried to stop prophecy.
Yeah.
He tried to, he was about to go to war with them cats trying to take Christ. But Christ called him Satan. You know what I mean? So, but let's keep going. Let's go back to where we was at in Isaiah 53,
All right, Isaiah 53.
verse 6.
I'll pick it for you.
Somebody.
I pick it, Isaiah chapter 53, verse 6. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord have laid him the iniquity of us all.
Right. The Lord laid on him the iniquity of us all. We the ones that like sheep went astray. It's like all of the sheep. You're a shepherd and you got all your sheep, and you got to round them all up, but they not listening. They're not coming back. They just running away. And so you got a lamb somewhere. The lamb ain't got nothing to do with the goddamn sheep. And you just start whooping his ass. God damn it, them damn sheep. You start whooping. It don't make no sense, right? But that's the way the Lord did this thing, so that way the sheep now can come back. That's the analogy, right? I know it's ridiculous, but when we take it away from talking about literal sheep and talking about humans that have the ability to take instruction, we should have been listening to our Father. And the thing is, the only other way that this could have gone is that all of us die and only Christ gets to live. And the Most High didn't see fit for that. So we needed, of course, we understand the law of sacrifice. Most of us would have been a sacrifice. You know, there's things that you can sacrifice for. There's things that you can atone for sins. There's certain sins that you can atone for, but you cannot atone for murder. You understand? You cannot atone for adultery. You cannot atone for witchcraft, which is what most of these brothers is doing out here, selling this dope and using this dope. You cannot atone for those things. So you have to be put to death. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Right? For homosexuality, you have to be put to death according to the Bible, not according to me, according to the Bible. Right? You have to be put to death for those things. But if that's the case, well, then all of these cats got to go. We all done sin, a sin worthy of death. So now, who's left? Just Christ? Well, the Most High didn't see fit for that. So he decided that he was going to make one sacrifice. So that way we don't have to die. Because Christ's going to live forever. You understand? But now let's keep reading, right? So, let's see. But the Lord had laid on him the iniquity of us all. Verse 7.
Okay. Verse 7. He was oppressed, and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb. So he opened it not his mouth.
Right. The same way that a sheep before her shears is dumb, he opened not his mouth. Right. I'm gonna read John the 18th chapter just so we can get through it. Right. John the 18th chapter 36 verse. It says, because remember, we just read he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He didn't have nothing to say about it. He knew he had to do it. So as a good soldier, he shut the hell up about it. So John 18 and 36 says, Jesus answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. But now is my kingdom not from hence. So he's saying if it was up to me, I'd fight. I'd tell all my servants to fight, and we go to war with all you bastards. But this ain't my stilo. This ain't my thing.
Right.
I'm not doing this. The Lord is doing this. And who the hell am I to step in the way? You think I want to be delivered to the Jews? Be delivered to the Romans? Be delivered to the people that are going to put me to death in the worst way? I don't want to do that. But this ain't my kingdom. This ain't my call. And that's why the scriptures say that he just shut up. He didn't ever complain. He didn't ever, he said, man, God damn it, I don't want to do this. Like, The only thing he did one time was he asked if the Most High could remove this cup, but before he could even receive a response from his father, he said, "But if I have to drink this cup, then I'm gonna drink this cup. If I gotta die, then I gotta die. If this is the only way, then this is the only way." You know, so most of us would be like kicking and screaming at the door, fighting for our goddamn lives. Even and I'm saying most of us, I'm talking about us as a people, right? Because we're so selfish as a people. Most of us, even if it meant that 10 people could live, we'd rather those 10 people die and we live. We're gonna be kicking and screaming at the door, holding on to the doorpost. Don't take me out there to get killed. Well, Christ was the type of man that would die for 10 sinners, 1,000 sinners, 1,000,000 sinners. And we wouldn't die for one righteous man. We wouldn't put our lives on the line for one righteous man. Go ahead, yes.
I was gonna say that it shows how selfish the world is. It's like when you watch like one of those shows or animes, whatever, you got situation where the main character is in a spot where the it's either this one person has to die to save everybody else, or let this person live, but then it jeopardizes everybody else's safety. Right. And they always choose, we'll just find a different way to make sure this person lives. But it's like, why do that when if the selfish thing is, let me take my life so that everybody else can live?
Yeah.
They show us how selfish the world is. The world would be like, well, no, we don't want that. Let's find a way for everybody to suffer together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't start to realize that until, coming to the truth and then really seeing these shows and seeing like, that's kind of like, that's real selfish. You know what I'm saying? If one person, even the person whose life was like, is in danger, like, hey, if I could die and everybody live, I'll do that. But he'll be convinced that, no, that's wrong.
Right.
We should find a way for everybody to suffer together.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it's just a concept that a lot of people don't understand. It's just called brotherhood. That's all it is. And Christ understood it. He understood the mission. He could have failed, but he understood what had to be done. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. There's certain things that just have to be done, and you just have to deal with it. A lot of people think that they have options, but when you're given an order from the Most High, there is no option. There's no option 2 or option 3. The Lord, when He gives an order, it's not, well, you can do this, but you can also do this. It ain't. It's only one option. And the Lord said to Christ, hey, you're gonna go down there. You're gonna live to be 33 years old. You're gonna teach my people before you go. You're gonna get them to follow you. You're gonna put the gospel out, and then you're gonna die. And it's gonna suck, but you're gonna die, so that way your brothers and sisters can live. So that way they have a way back to me. And so He said, count on the one counting. He just did it. He just shut up. He did exactly what he was supposed to. Lived a perfect life, never sinned, never went against the Most High. You understand? You had something up?
I was gonna say, so to build on what you said, when the Most High gives you an order, He doesn't. It's not just that there's no choice, but He'll send angels to chase your behind down and threaten you with death. Like the Most High will not take answer. The Most High does not take no for an answer when He wants you to do a job. If He wants you to do a job, you can try to kill yourself. People can try to kill you, and you will live. Ask Jonah about it.
Right.
How do you survive 3 damn days inside of it? Because the Most High wanted him to just do a damn job.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna goddamn do it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like that.
Yeah. So there that goes, man. Let's finish this out, man. Let's get verse 8. So 53 and 8. Let's read on down.
Okay. It's Isaiah chapter 53, verse 8. He was taken from prison and from judgment. Who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 9. And he made his grave with the wicked.
Right. He died the same way a wicked man would die. Matter of fact, he died next to them 2 malefactors. One of them repented, but the other one, and both of them was still malefactors, you understand? And they was, he he made his grave with the wicked. He died the way a sinner would die. Go ahead.
Okay. And with the rich in his death,
Mm-hmm.
because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth.
Right. He didn't deserve it. Keep going.
Okay. Verse 10. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him.
But it pleased the Lord to bruise him. Don't this sound like an evil guy? You know, atheists use this all the time, not understanding what we just talked about. Atheists use this all the time to say God is just a wicked, evil being that desires death and destruction of people that he loves. Like that's, but we're going to find out why this is important. All right, keep going.
Okay. He had put him to grief when thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin.
Oh, wait a minute, but I thought no man could die for the sin of another. But the Most High said he's going to make his soul an offering for sin. Go ahead.
He shall see his seed. He prolonged his days. He shall prolong his days.
He shall prolong his days. Keep going.
And the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand.
So why does it please the Lord to bruise him? Because that sounds. Go ahead.
Because he does the work of the Most High.
He does the work of the Most High, but what is he going in reward of the Lord bruising him? What does Christ receive?
He received eternal rulership.
Eternal rulership, right? Keep going.
God, verse 11. He shall see of the travail of his soul,
Mm-hmm.
and shall be satisfied.
Right. Travail is sadness, is trouble, right? The travail of his soul, but he'll be satisfied. Keep going.
By his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquity.
So the reason why it pleased the Most High to bruise Yahushua is because he's going to bear the iniquities of many and justify many, so that way they can come back to the Most High. You had something?
So we know that the scriptures say that the most high power is a man of war. And in warfare, there's always going to be casualties. We all know that. It pleased the Most High because in this war, and we know that the scriptures also say this is the condition of the battle. If they win, they're going to get it. If they lose, they're going to get this. The Most High knows, like, hit for his perfect soldier. Look, soldier, if you die, when you die, I gain my whole family. I get all my people back, and I'm gonna bring you back. Like that's a deal. And he's, the king, of course, the perfect soldier. You're gonna rule over your whole. You're gonna conquer the earth. Like his death was so sick, is so twisted. But the deal that the Most High cut him was like, you gotta be a G to take it.
Yeah.
But if you take that damn deal, and Malak Yahushua took that goddamn deal and did that order,
Mm-hmm.
and his reward is righteous. Like the Most High is like the Don, and I shouldn't say that. The Dons on earth want to be like the Most High so bad because his level of command, there's nothing above him. He doesn't answer to shit. Salakia. Anyone. And the way he lays law down, like he makes exception for law. He can acquit you and know that you are guilty. Like the Most High, and even so much so that the Most High has a condition on earth right now that most people aren't even aware of. There is literally no way to unrighteously unalive a colonizer.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, because they've done so much evil, like it's like there are conditions that the Most High has on earth that it's just like you can miss it if you're really not paying attention. Sloppy.
Yeah. So, and this is the point with Christ, right? Bringing it back in. He's bearing the iniquities of many. Verse 12 is going to show you why it pleased the Lord to bruise him. It's going to set it right in stone. Give me verse 12.
Okay. Verse 12. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great.
Uh-huh.
He shall divide the spoil with the strong.
Uh-huh.
Because he hath poured out his soul unto death.
Right. That's why it pleased the Most High. Like, look, of course, he's going to have to bruise him. He's going to have to be put to death. He's going to have to be stricken. All of these things, right? To justify sinners, he had to go through that. But the Most High said he's going to divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. Keep going.
Okay. And he was numbered with the transgressors.
Uh-huh.
and he bare the sin of
And
many,
he bare the sin of many. Go ahead.
and made intercession for the
And
transgressors.
made intercession for the transgressors. And see, this is what we have to understand about Christ. Christ did all of that for us. When you read the so-called New Testament, you read the Gospels, and even the letters of Paul, when you see how Christ is spoken of, we find that what Christ did is bigger than just dying for people's sins. Like, that's a very base way to put it, right? To just say Christ died for our sins, right? Because that leaves out the fact that Christ died so we didn't have to die. Like, Christ died in your stead. You were supposed to die. He took your death sentence from you. He exonerated you of the death sentence, and he sat on that electric chair for you. He sat in front of that firing squad for you. He took the lethal injection. He did that when you were supposed to be there. So now this is what my question to everybody is. Of course, we're talking about Christ in the Old Testament, right? And the fulfillment thereof. But now that we have come to an end of the class, my question is, well, what are you going to do to justify his death? Because he died so that way you could live. He took your death sentence, right? So now what are you going to do? And that's the question that you got to ask yourself. Because a lot of people, especially these nasty Christians, I got to always bring that up. These nasty Christians just believe that Christ died for them so that way they could do whatever they want. So now, instead of saying, you know what, Christ died for me so that way I could get my life together. So I have extra time. I got this grace period so I could get my life together, start pleasing the Most High, because that's ultimately what Christ died for you to do, to have some extra time, to not be put to death, to give you a piece of, give you a grace period to be able to come back to the Most High. Ain't that what the Most High wanted? Didn't we just read that? The Most High only put Christ to death so that way you didn't have to die, so you could come back to him. We just read that. But you think Christ died so that way you could stay away from the Most High? Continue in your sin? That's why Paul said to you stupid niggas out here that think that you can sin now because of Christ. Paul said in the 6th chapter of Romans, what then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? We're supposed to be dead to sin through Christ. But you want to continue living in sin. You know what you're doing? You're spitting. Just the same way that the Roman centurions was spitting on Christ when they was dragging him to his death, you're doing the same thing. Every time you eat a piece of pork, every time that you have sex with that man's wife, every time you're a whore, every time you smoke that blunt, every time that you do anything that the Most High hates and shows in this Bible is a sin, you are spitting on Christ's face. The same way that the Roman centurions was doing. You're doing the same thing. So my point is, if you can now, and hopefully you can see it now. Hopefully you can see what Christ had to go through and what Christ had to do in order for you to have a second chance at living and not be unalived, put to death because of your sin. Maybe you'd stop sinning.
Right.
Maybe you'd say, you know what? I'll never touch pork again. I'll never eat anything that's on that Leviticus 11 unclean food list. I'll never eat anything like that. I'll never smoke another blunt. I'll never indulge in any of the activities the Lord told me is unlawful because Christ died so that way I have a chance to live. You understand? But that's the point, right? So, I wanted to make sure that we read some of these prophecies about Christ. We're running a little bit over, but I wanted to show that for multiple reasons, right? Of course, when you're talking to people that only believe in the Old Testament and don't believe in Christ, this is just a further, you can go and pull any of these precepts and you can show them how the Old Testament prophecies of a Messiah to come absolutely apply to Christ. And then not only that, it should also strengthen your faith in Christ, strengthen your understanding of where Christ comes from. A lot of people don't understand where Christ comes from. It's mainly because of the Christian church. He just on the scene, Matthew 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's the first time you ever hear anything about Christ, but that's just simply not true. You go into the Old Testament, and Christ is all over that place, and you start to find out that this whole entire Bible is about Christ and what he's going to do for the children of Israel. So we have to understand that. Christ is bigger than just the 4 books of the gospel. All right. That being said, we'll go ahead and close out. I imagine, which means to stand. Which means turn and face to the east. We're going to close out, beginning with the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Lakwavka, Zaba'ah, Tazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalakanawa, Kawatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawatinawa, Wala'a, Nabayanawa, Side 1, Abal, Hawashanawa, Mayan, Raikaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wa'ala, Wa'thapawra, Laiwalumium, Amun. Lord's Prayer in English. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and forever. So be it. I'm going to read the Kak with the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Babakushah, Thundanawa Hakak, Hakak Larapahab, Kal Maka'ala, Wakal Marawa, Hakak Latahar, Hamatazarayim, Hakak Lakwayam, Hamathium, Hakak Arakawa, Hatama'ala, Lagarashan, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the Walaman, in the English. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please give us the power, the power to heal all manner of sickness, and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahushai, thank you, so be it. I'm going to read Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Ashah, Ayanya, Ahaharya, Mayan, Yaba'ah, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shamayam, Warataza, Ayathan, Lamawat, Ragalka, Ayanawam, Shamarka, Ana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashan, Shamar, Yashala. Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yavinka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarach, Walayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makal Rai, Yashamar, Atnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamar, Taza'athka, Waba, Wa'aka, Ma'itha, Wa'ad, Awalam. We're going to read Psalms 121 in English. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth thee shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh shall preserve. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out, and thy coming in, from this time forth, and even forevermore. We're going to read Psalms the 83rd chapter in the Hebrew. Alahayim, Adama Yalaka, Al Thakaraj, Al Thashakwat, Al Kayahana, Awayabika, Yahamayawan, Ra'ash, Aimaka, Yarayamwa, Sawada, Waitha, Yaitazawa, Al Tazapawanyaka, Amarwa, Lakawa, Makakidam, Magalia, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yashala, Awada, Kaya, Nawaitazawa, Laba, Yakadwa, Awyaka, Rayat, Yakarathwa, Ahalya, Arawam, Washamayalia, Mawa'aba, Wagarya, Gabal,
Ba.
Wa I'm a one.
Wa I'm a one.
Wa I'm a lock.
Wa I'm a lock.
Palasha.
Palasha.
I'm Yeshabia.
I'm Yeshabia.
Taz of war.
Taz of war.
Gamasha war.
Gamasha war.
Nalawa.
Nalawa.
Imam.
Imam.
Hayawa.
Ayawa.
Zarawai.
Zarawai.
Labunya Lawat.
Bani Lawat.
Salah.
Salah.
Aishalaham.
Ashalaham.
Kamadyan.
Kamadyan.
Kasaya.
Kasaya.
Sara'ah.
Sarah.
Kayabyan.
Kayabyan.
Manakal.
Manakal.
Kwayashwan.
Kwayashwan.
Nashamagwa.
Nashamagwa.
Mayan.
Mayan.
Nara.
Nara.
Ayawa.
Ayawa.
Daman.
Daman.
La'adama.
La'adama.
Shayathamwa.
Shayathamwa.
Nadab.
Nadab.
Yamawa.
Yamawa.
Ka'irab.
Ka'irab.
Bakazaba.
Bakazaba.
Bakazabak.
Bakazabak.
Bakazazal.
Bakazazal.
Mana'ai.
Mana'ai.
Call.
Call.
Sayakamwa.
Sayakamwa.
Ashar.
Ashar.
Amarwa.
Amarwa.
Narasha.
Narasha.
Lanawa.
Lanawa.
Ath.
Ath.
Nawath.
Nawath.
Alahayim.
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 Shayathamwa.
Shayathamwa.
Agogala.
Agogala.
Kakwash.
Kakwash.
Lapanya Rakah.
Labanya Rakah.
Ka'ash.
Ka'ash.
Nabaira.
Nabaira.
Ya'ira.
Ya'ira.
Kalahaba.
Kalahaba.
Talahat.
Talahat.
Aryam.
Aryam.
Khan.
Khan.
Tharadapma.
Tharadapma.
Masa Iraka.
Masa Iraka.
Wabasa.
Wabasa.
Wapathka.
Wapathka.
Tabalam.
Tabalam.
Mala'ah.
Mala'ah.
Panyaham.
Panyaham.
Palawan.
Palawan.
Webakwashwa.
Webakwashwa.
Shamka.
Shamka.
Yahawa.
Yahawa.
Yabashwa.
Yabashwa.
Webahawa.
Webahawa.
Aya'ai.
Aya'ai.
Wakaparwa.
Wakaparwa.
Weabadwa.
Weabadwa.
Wedaiwa.
Wedaiwa.
Kayatha.
Kayatha.
Shamka.
Shamka.
Yahawa.
Yahawa.
Labadka.
Labadka.
Ayawan.
Ayawan.
Alkar.
Alkar.
All right.
All right.
We're going to read Psalms, the 83rd chapter in English. Keep not thou silence, O God.
Keep not thou silence, O God.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O God.
Be not still, O God.
For lo,
lo,
thine enemies make a tumult.
thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
They hate thee and lift up their head.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden
And
ones.
consulted against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
They have said,
Come,
Come,
and let us cut them off from being a nation.
let us come off from your nation.
That the name of Yashar'Allah
The name of Yahshua
may be no more in remembrance.
be no more remembrance.
For they have consulted together with one consent.
They have consulted together with one consent.
They are confederate against
They
thee,
are confederate against thee.
the tabernacles of Edom,
The tabernacles of Edom.
and the Ishmaelites,
The Israelites.
of Moab,
Moab.
and the Agarenes,
The Hagarenes.
Gabal,
Baal.
and Ammon,
And Ammon.
and Amalek,
And Amalek.
the Philistines,
Philistines.
with the inhabitants of Tyre.
The inhabitants of Tyre.
Assur also is joined with them.
So also joined with
They
them.
have opened the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
Salah.
Salah.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
Do unto them as unto the Midianites.
As to Sisera,
As to Sarah.
as to Jabin,
Ben.
at the brook of
The
Kasan,
book of Kasan.
which perished that endured.
Parents that endured.
They became as dung for the earth.
They came and done on the earth.
Baked their nobles like a red,
They know it was like a red.
and like Zael.
Like that.
Yea, all their princes as Zabah,
On the princes of Sabbath.
and as Amunah,
And Amunah.
who said,
Who said,
Let us take to
let
ourselves
us take to
the
ourselves
houses of
the
God
house of God
in possession.
in possession.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Make them like a wheel,
Make them like a wheel.
as the stubble before the wind,
Like a stubble before the wind.
as the fire burneth the wood,
Fire burneth the wood.
and as the flame setteth the mountains on
And
fire.
the flames set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them with thy tempest,
Persecute them with thy temper.
and make them afraid with thy storm.
Make them afraid with thy storm.
Fill their faces with shame,
Fill their faces with shame.
that they may seek thy name.
That they may seek thy name.
O Yahweh,
O Yahweh.
let them be confounded in trouble forever.
Let me confound their trouble forever.
Yea,
Yea.
let them be put to shame and perish.
Let me put to shame and perish.
Then men may know that thou,
That they may know that I,
whose name alone
whose name alone,
is Yahweh,
is Yahweh,
are the most high of all the earth.
are the most high of all the earth.
We're going to read the blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh,
Barakatah Yahweh.
Wa Yahweh Shai,
Wa Yahweh Shai.
Wa Mayaka'Allah,
Wa Mayaka'Allah.
Wa Alahayim,
Wa Alahayim.
Matazav Ya'ah,
Zabiyah.
Alawap Yahana,
Alawap Yahana.
Alawapim,
Alawap.
Hasaranyim,
Hasaranyim.
Hakwata Zayanyim,
Kwata Zayanyim.
Makaya Yayim,
Makaya Yayim.
Wa Gwathin,
Wa Gwathin.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
Ba Shem Yahweh Shai,
Hashem Yahweh.
Wa Raman.
Wa Raman.
English. Bless you, Yahweh,
Bless you, Yahweh.
and Yahweh Shai,
And Yahweh Shai.
and Michael,
And Michael.
and the angels,
The angels.
commanding General Yohanan,
Commanding General Yohanan.
the generals,
The generals.
the captains,
The captains.
the officers,
The officers.
the troopers,
Troopers.
and the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh,
Yahweh.
in the name of Yahweh Shai,
In the name of Yahweh Shai.
thank you, so be it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Sorry about your shot. Seated. Any brother that would like to be anointed with oil, you can step up to the front. You stepping up, Kabak?
Yes, sir.
He coming up. All right, y'all know the drill.
I don't know what kind.
Say these prayers, point to you, say your name 3 times. All right.
Okay.
Ya Baraka Yahweh, Waya Shamarka, Ya Ar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Al Yaka, Waya Kanka, Yasha Ar Yahweh, Pan Yahweh, Al Yaka, Waya Shamlaka, Shalom, Yahweh, Ba Shem Yahweh Shai, Barak, Rapa, Magan, Hagan, Razan,
Kabarama.
Kabarama,
Kabarama. Kabarama.
Shai, Ba Shem Yahweh Shai, the Warama, clap it up. All right. We just said in the English words, Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless, heal, shield, and protect these three brothers. With that being said, we're going to close out the Sabbath service with a courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh,
Yahweh, Shai, Brakatum.
Yahweh, dismissed.